Welcome everyone to the second national calls of the Swiss Data Science Center, calls for collaborative projects. I want to pass a quick note that this webinar is being recorded and just quickly share agenda and protocol of today's session. Okay, here's the agenda. We'll hear about the SDSC for the ones of you that don't know the SDSC and what our national calls mean in our journey. We'll hear about the 3 different calls from the calls leads after general introduction by Guillaume Obozinski as well. And then have a quick update on what's happening with the Renko team before the Q&A. So welcome everyone. As you've seen in the in this webinar's function, there's a Q&A function as well, so you can ask questions throughout, and we'll pass them one by one at the Q&A session at the end of the call, or if colleagues can answer them throughout, see an option, we'll try to answer as many as possible as we go. So without further ado, I pass the microphone over to our next speaker, Olivier Verscheur, Executive Director of the Swiss Data Science Center, to tell us more about the SDSC, our journey and the calls in the mix of it.
We cannot hear you, Olivier.
Indeed, you should hear me now. Sorry about that. So I was saying good afternoon, everyone. I will spend 90 seconds just to give you a quick overview of what the SDSC is. So the SDSC started in 2017 as a joint initiative between EPFL and ETH Zurich. Since then, the PSI, the Paul Scherrer Institute in Villingen, joined the partnership. So we are basically distributed across these 3 partners. We have a team of around 110 professionals across these 3 offices. And what's important is that we serve and we support what we call a data science journey. So it's not that we focus only on the AI and the machine learning part, but we actually offer a set of services across the collection, the management of data, to machine learning, AI, and in some cases, industrialization of some of these algorithms or methods. And we serve a variety of stakeholders as well, from academic labs, hospitals, the industry, the public sector, including, of course, cantonal and federal administrations. Next slide, Uta, please. Just for you to understand how we function. So over the years, since 2017, as I said, and by the way, as of the 1st of January 2025, we turned into a national research infrastructure. What we've built over the years is a set of core services that you see here. So we have an applied research team, we have an innovation and knowledge transfer team, we have a large engineering team as well. And these teams work together to actually serve different strategic domains that we have specified and we are reinforcing this year. And these are health and biomedical, climate and the environment, digital society, large-scale infrastructures, energy and sustainability. Guillaume will have a few words about those verticals soon, but we basically align our calls to these strategic domains. I think this is all I wanted to say about the SDSC, and I turn over to Guillaume, the Deputy Executive Director, who is also the head of the Applied Research Unit.
Thank you, Olivier. So hello, everyone. So in this part, I'll try to say a few words to present our national calls and to provide general information which is applicable to the 3 of them. Next slide, please. So we are announcing this year 3 calls, which are essentially the same as the ones that we've announced last year, but with a few changes. So these three calls are the call for collaborative research data science project, which is offering to contribute in-kind expertise in statistical modeling, machine learning, and AI to projects from different application domains. Then the call for end-user innovation project, which is a call that aims to ensure that novelty developed in an academic or research context can achieve its full potential in various end-user contexts, such as in public institutions, in an industrial context, or for different economic stakeholders. And then the call for a collaborative data science infrastructure project, which provides support to design, prototype, and develop sustainable and reusable data science infrastructure with potential for lasting impact across scientific domains and institutions. Next slide. So in those projects that are called in these calls, the SDSC is essentially contributing specific expertise. There is a long list here, which I'm not going to read aloud, but which includes expertise in data science, machine learning, and AI, expertise in various aspects of data science engineering, and more. So the contribution of the SDSC is essentially an in-kind contribution of staff and of computational resources in this project. This is with an involvement of at least half an FTE per year, with this amount being typically between half an FTE and one FTE for the research and the data science infrastructure project. The SDSC is unfortunately not able to contribute in cash in these projects. The projects are up to 2 years for research and data science infrastructure project, and they are 1 year for end-user innovation project. In addition to these, let me point out that the data science infrastructure call offers shorter 3 to 6 months exploration and prototyping project. This is new this year. And as we were already offering last year, the innovation call is proposing also expert support mandates. And so these will be detailed later in the presentation of the individual calls. In terms of the computational resources, basically the idea is that the SDSC contributes in kind the computational resources, including temporary storage, CPU, GPU, switch or CSCS, which is needed for the work of its data scientist and engineer, and to support related data science or infrastructure work of the project partners. This means that, unfortunately, the SDSC cannot contribute in-kind resources for computationally intensive needs that could arise either upstream or downstream of the project. And an estimate of those computational resources should be proposed in the pre-proposals, and the final amount of resources granted is based on the evaluation of the project. So talking about evaluation, let me clarify that our motivation to announce these calls is for the fair allocation of the resources of the SDSC. The proposals submitted to our calls are reviewed by a panel of both internal and external experts, and this makes it possible for the SDSC to identify and engage in impactful projects, and also to ensure fair access to the resources of the SDSC. And to give you an idea, since 2018, we have engaged in 134 collaborative projects that have been selected from more than 450 submissions made over the years in our different calls. Next slide, please. So important information. So eligibility to our call. So this is something which is applicable to our 3 calls. So the main applicant to our call must be affiliated either with a higher education institution or a research facility of national importance based on Article 15, or a Swiss federal or cantonal administration, or a Swiss NGO or an international NGO with a strong presence in Switzerland. The main applicant must, in addition, have the relevant qualification and have the necessary resources to be able to contribute to the project in terms of human resources, data, and infrastructure. Then the main applicant can be joined by one or several co-applicants and their teams. And the requirement for co-applicant is that they are affiliated with a not-for-profit institutions. And in the innovation call, private companies are welcome to join as implementation partners, and I guess that Silvia Carteroni will come back to this point. Next slide. Right, so a few words about our strategic domains and tracks. So as mentioned by Olivier, we would like to emphasize a bit more this year in our calls the support that we would like to give to the domains that are listed here, which means that proposals submitted to our calls will always have to be submitted to one of 6 tracks, which are, corresponding to our 5 strategic domain plus a general track. And if you submit a proposal to a track and then the project that you're submitting is actually not eligible to the corresponding track, well, we will redirect it automatically to the best fitting track. To say a few words on the different domains. So in the health and biomedical domain, we encourage the submission of projects related to biomedical imaging, time-dependent data analysis, multiple data modalities, health and preventive medicine, and precision medicine. In climate and environment, we encourage applications from a project on ecology and biodiversity, climate and weather modeling, natural hazards and pollution, hydrology and earth processes, spatiotemporal modeling for climate and environment. In energy and sustainability, we are encouraging submissions of projects on energy production or consumption forecasting and optimization, renewable energies, energy efficiency, smart grids, and then in connection with sustainability, sustainable or efficient use of natural resources, circularity, sustainable processes and materials. On the next slide, for large-scale infrastructures, the track on data science for large-scale infrastructure is a track for projects that are relevant for the design, operation, exploitation of large-scale infrastructures, to be understood as large-scale infrastructure that produce important amount of data or are monitored and require the production of large amounts of, or produce large amounts of data for that reason. So this includes data acquisition and processing, instrument control and experimental feedback, inverse problem and estimation for related scientific use cases. And to give you an example of some examples of large-scale infrastructures, for example, particle accelerators, sensing and monitoring networks, and communities such as quantum computing, electron microscopy, etc. In the domain that we call digital society, essentially we encourage projects that empower individuals and communities by supporting accessibility and efficiency of administration and public services, collective participation and citizen engagement, support to vulnerable or underserved population, information access and open access knowledge, personalized education, and adaptive learning systems. And then, of course, we welcome other submissions. So if your project is not fitting one of these domains, you're more than welcome to submit it to the general track where we will consider your submission. So a few words about impact. We're looking forward to collaborate on projects with strong impact for stakeholder communities and for society, in particular via the development of data science, ML, and AI tools, via the production of new data sets and data source, and contribution to research data science infrastructures. Move to the next slide. And so our three calls have the same initial timeline, and then the timeline becomes specific after these first steps. So all three calls are opening today. The pre-proposal submission deadline is the same for all calls and is October 27th. After a review process, we will invite selected pre-proposal to submit full proposal. This will be at the end of the year, so by Friday, December 19th. And there are exchanges that are scheduled with the SDSC staff in January. So in these exchanges, we offer the opportunity to applicants to exchange with us to help them answer questions and provide some guidance for the preparation of full proposals. This is everything I wanted to say, and so I guess we'll move to the presentation of the call for collaborative research data science project. And so I'll let Mathieu Salzman, Deputy Chief Data Scientist, present this call to you.
Thank you, Guillaume. Good afternoon, everyone. So yeah, let me say a few words about the call for collaborative research data science projects. Next slide, please, Uta. So the idea of this project is to build collaborations where the SDSC will contribute expertise in different data science domains, statistical data science, machine learning, and AI, and with some specific topics such as computer vision, natural language processing, but also many others as well, right? The specificity of this goal is that the goal is to design and implement algorithms that are specifically tailored to the application at hand, where we will incorporate some prior knowledge from the domain into the machine learning data science algorithms. We have a team, the applied research team, that has members who have expertise in data science, but also expertise in specific application domains, environmental sciences, for example, biomedical, data or imaging, and others. And so the idea is that the work of the SDSC will complement and support the work of the other teams that's involved in the contributions, where we will contribute methodological expertise in data science. And typically, the kind of involvement that is in this project is a data scientist for 0.5 to 1 FTE per year for a duration of up to 2 years. Next slide, please. In terms of outcomes that we can expect from these projects, they're of different kinds. Next. The first type is open source code, libraries, toolboxes that are made available to the community, to the applied community in general. That could also be to the data science community if appropriate, but in general, we're targeting more the application domain field. Next. Of course, we also target publications, scientific papers in journals, in conferences. Typically, the publications will be in the domain science. There can be cases where it's in the machine learning domain, but it's more rare. We tend to focus on the domain science outcomes. And the last type of outcomes would be data sets. We try to build open data sets whenever appropriate and make them available to the community, to the relevant communities as well. Go to the next slide. Thank you. So when people submit their proposal, we will use a number of evaluation criteria to evaluate them and select them. Some of these criteria are, of course, fairly standard criteria for research proposals. So it encompasses impact, the impact in the scientific field, in the domain. Contributions toward an effort in open science, open research data in particular. There's also feasibility. Are the objectives attainable within 2 years? Are the risks clearly identified, and aspects such as clarity. Do we have a clear description of the challenges of the project, sufficient detail in terms of the methodology that's envisioned to address the problem? There are other aspects that are a bit more focused for our calls in particular. One of them is the data. We'd like to make sure that most of the data is available or will be available and accessible at the start of the project. There could be some exceptions for this when some data transfer user agreement needs to be signed and approved before the project can start. We would like also make sure that there's data of appropriate quality and quantity. And if this is not yet the case and still more data needs to be acquired, then there are clear plans on how to acquire this data. For us, what is also important is that these projects are collaborative projects. And so we'd like also to evaluate the quality of that collaboration from the proposal. So we'd like to have a role for the SDSC that is clearly defined, but also a role for the collaborators, making sure that there are enough resources so that there is really a collaboration and discussions between the two parties so that we make one project that works well together. And finally, there are aspects of sustainability, long-term maintenance for the data resources that are produced, for the data science tools that are produced as well, that can be part of the evaluation. Next slide. So in terms of timeline, this is what we're looking at. The first part of this table is what Guillaume showed you before. So pre-proposal submission deadline towards the end of October, with invitation to submit full proposals for a number of pre-proposal by before Christmas. Then discussion with SDSC staff in January, and then the deadline for full proposal submission will be at the end of February, and you'll receive final decisions on the full proposal in June. Then the idea is to start the collaborative project around September to December 2026. Go to the next slide. And so now I'd like to just illustrate what our call can offer with a few examples of projects that are ongoing or very recent project. Go to the next slide. So the first one is a project that's in the track for biomedical, health and biomedical. It's about melanoma, and it's in collaboration with EPFL, HUS-SO, CHUV, the University Hospital in Zurich, and of course ourselves. This was also co-funded by PHRT, Personalized Health and Related Technologies. And the motivation behind this project is that it remains very challenging to identify the response patterns of individual patients when we have access to measurements at different points in times, particularly when there are multiple lesions that undergo complex dynamics. And so the goal of the project is to develop algorithms to segment PET and CT data that were acquired at different time points, and to be able to extract image features that capture the lesion evolution over time, and then integrate these features with clinical data to predict the outcome of the disease, and ideally to try to also find biomarkers that could be used to predict the outcome of treatment. In terms of the contributions of the SDSC in the context of this project, so we've been studying the use of foundation models. So we're talking about really state-of-the-art deep learning models, large-scale models for biomedical image segmentation, for tracking the lesions as well. And then we're developing a graph neural network approach for tracking these lesions and making the prediction over time by combining the image features with clinical data. You can go to the next slide. The second project falls in the context of climate and environment. This is a project related to weather prediction. Nowadays, so it's a project that's in collaborations with different partners from the ETH Zurich. And so nowadays, most weather prediction is made with numerical models. One of them is ICON. And at the core of these numerical models, there's the computation of radiation flux, and that means incoming solar energy as well as outgoing thermal energy at different levels in the atmosphere around the Earth. And so we can see these radiation fluxes, different radiation fluxes here in the pictures. some across the globes at one particular level in the atmospheres, and at the bottom we see at different levels in the atmosphere for fixed longitude and fixed latitude for different latitude and longitude. And so computing this radiation flux is really the most computationally intensive component in the numerical models. And so the goal of the project is to try to replace this component with a machine learning surrogate models to predict directly the radiation fluxes and speed up the process. And so our contributions in the context of this project have been to try different architectures, neural network architectures, to replace the component to predict radiation fluxes. In particular, we converged to a bidirectional LSTM model that goes along the columns in the atmosphere and has been trained with a loss function explicitly encompassing domain knowledge via energy conservation regularization. Our neural network was integrated into the numerical simulator thanks to the Center for Climate Systems Modeling at ETH. And we've also, in the context of the project, created open source the data set that are made accessible to the community. We can go to the next slide. And finally, the last example is a fairly different kind of project. It's a project that falls in the context of large-scale infrastructure. In particular, here we're looking at the Swiss Light Source facility at the Paul Scherrer Institute. And so this is a project in collaboration with people at PSI. The idea is to try to process more efficiently data from crystallography data that is used to estimate the 3D structures of macromolecules. And so the way this data is acquired is that multiple crystals are measured, or the diffraction patterns of multiple crystals are measured at the same time. And this gives rise to very large volumes of data that needs to be indexed to then be assembled and merged into a single data set that provides the 3D structure of macromolecule. And so this indexing step is very time consuming. And so what we've been working on in the context of this project is a new indexer based on robust estimation techniques. So here we're looking at very different machine learning kind of techniques compared to what we were discussing in the previous project. And this indexer achieves state-of-the-art estimation performance and a very large improvement in terms of speed, allowing to give real-time feedback in the context of crystallography, serial crystallography. The framework has been tested in the SLS facility, but also in other facilities across Europe. And so this concludes my part, and then we can move on to the next part for end-user innovation with Sylvia.
Yeah, thanks, Mathieu, and hi, everybody. I'm Sylvia Quattroni. I head the innovation team at the SDSC. So it is my pleasure to talk to you about the call for end-user innovation projects. Yeah, next, please. So the objectives of this specific call is to create impactful collaborations. Basically, our goal here is that we want to make sure that the novelty we develop in academia achieves its full potential, i.e. meets an end-user context. The end-user can be a citizen, an individual, a patient, somebody who can draw value from the technology. And therefore, our main focus in these collaborations includes the industrialization of research prototypes, for example, in the form of data products or software, which has a clear market potential, which can, for example, give way to incorporating a new company, a spin-off of an academic entity, or the adoption of data science solutions that were originally designed in an academic or research organization setting within public sector entities, such as a cantonal administration or a federal office, or the translation of machine learning models that have been created in the context of, for example, clinical research or heavily R&D teams into applications that serve more downstream kinds of users, for example, practitioners and their patients in a medical domain. Next slide, please. So why do we offer this? So we've been offering this kind of collaboration since last year, and this draws from our experience from about 50 collaborations that we've been able to carry out within the innovation team over the years. You see here an overview, a very rough overview with selected collaborations in various fields that we have the pleasure of working on. We have acquired experience in certain domains, which align well, of course, with the general domains of the SDSC, including health and biomedical, energy, sustainability, public sector, and similar. And if you can move on to the next slide, please. We want to leverage this consolidated experience and make it work also with partners that are not necessarily private companies. We have been able to help many organizations, large and small, and also in the public sector, to not only carry out projects individually, but also setting up data science strategies, to implement that strategy by carrying it out operationally, by selecting the right battles to fight in a way, and by generating tangible outcomes. When we say tangible outcomes, what we mean is industrialization, something that brings value to an end user, or even the enablement of internal capability to deliver. For example, for many companies and also some public sector organizations, we have enabled those entities to hire internally in order for their data science team to grow and to be able to deliver internally and externally towards customers, patients, users more effectively. What we want to offer as well, which we've acquired by especially focusing on the private sector, is a validation of research findings and innovation prototypes in an actually productive environment. And this, of course, requires a certain number of skills, which are not necessarily just pure data science skills, but also as industrial experience and capabilities that go a bit beyond that, such as machine learning, engineering, and MLOps. And finally, what we are really thrilled to be able to propose is also encouraging and supporting pathways to adoption in market. And this is thanks to, in part, our network that we've been able to form in the last few years in Switzerland, which enables us also to create links with companies and public sector organizations, which would be relevant in the case of new innovation proposed in the context of this call. Next, please. So where we hope to get proposals, of course, the main topics of energy and sustainability, health and biomedical and digital society are particularly encouraged. So energy and sustainability in the perspective of the innovation call means, for example, sustainable manufacturing or energy forecasting and optimization, or creating sustainable environments for mobility. In the case of health and biomedical, of course, biomedical data science, be it focused on precision medicine or even collaborative frameworks for patient welfare. These are all very relevant. And then when it comes to digital society, since one of our potential partners in these calls and then the applicants can be public administration, what we really hope for is to enable public administration players to better serve Switzerland's population. And since NGOs are also welcome to submit calls, of course, public and social service or even humanitarian-focused organizations are particularly encouraged to submit to this. So the beneficiaries, as mentioned by Guillaume earlier regarding eligibility, we aim for supporting research organizations and the public or para-public sector, and also not-for-public organizations. These are the principal investigators that we will be able to support. Private companies, I want to mention 2 points regarding this. The first one is that, of course, private companies can participate in the role of implementation partners. This means that they will not directly receive the in-kind support by the SDSC. It will be the PIs who will receive that, but they will benefit from a first mover advantage by joining forces with a PI from the academic or public sector or NGO environment. In addition to this, I also want to mention that the SDSC offers many alternative funding instruments in order to support private companies. And an example that comes to mind, and specifically regarding Canton Vaud, is our call for projects that is specifically targeted at SMEs and more generally private companies based in Canton Vaud, which will be announced in a separate webinar this Thursday. Moving on to how to benefit from our support, we have two formats. The first one is project-based, like in the other calls, and the second one is expert support. We can maybe go to that. So when it comes to projects, we have very similar setup to the research call that was just announced. The main differences are the following. We aim for projects that last 12 months, and this is to better fit the cycles of industry. So if we are aiming to industrialize something quickly, we want to be able to prove that this is possible within 12 months. Other than that, what we provide is, like in the research call, approximately the same number of FTEs. We will, of course, make sure that there is an appropriate ratio of project management, because we view these collaborations as more or less as industrial collaborations in spirit. In terms of the timeline, we have a slightly anticipated start of the collaborative projects in mind, which we will be able to meet by reviewing projects a bit faster. Next slide, please. So much like in the research call, we have a two-phase proposal process. In the first step, we have pre-proposals, which basically should propose the motivations and impact that is expected in these innovations. And the goal of this pre-proposal selection phase is indeed to check that there is a sufficient innovation degree and expected impact. We will look at the organization's prior projects and track record in a way in order to also support this decision. Of course, the full proposal will be the main point of evaluation, where also more details will be provided by the applicants, and therefore it will be possible to make a more precise evaluation. And here we will involve experts from third-party organizations and also members of the private and public sector, because we are aiming again for this impact, which could be societal or economic. We can go to the next slide, please. Yeah, so just to be perfectly clear, the pre-proposal is expected to be a very concise document of maximum 3 pages. We will provide a template for this on the website. There will be an intermediate optional addition opportunity where the applicants will be able to provide a 30-minute concise pitch and discuss their proposed innovation. And then upon success of this pre-proposal and audition phase, a full proposal will be possible by invitation, and this will be a maximum 10-page document. So very concise if you think of alternative funding instruments like, for example, InnoSwiss. And based on this, we will be able to make a selection. Next slide, please. I just wanted to mention this second kind of support, which we have been successfully experimenting with last year, which is expert support. So here, the spirit is the following. There may not be an actual project which requires a deliverable that is relevant, but on the contrary, what is particularly needed is expertise in terms of how to industrialize innovation, how to package innovation in a way, so software, for example, in a way that is that it can be deployed, and essentially receiving coaching and advice related to a particular innovation. And for this, what we provide is indeed a number of days that we dedicate to supporting our counterparts. These are very similar to something we've been offering for years within the innovation team called membership. It is non-IP generating, if you like. It is really a sort of personalized coaching, and it has been successful in a few examples. Here we have a very short selection process, which only relies on one phase of application. And we will be able to start mandates of this kind as early as the second quarter of 2026. Next slide, please. So again, here, what we will look at is not necessarily project content, since there won't be any actual project, but actually we will look at the expected impact, the relevance of the application within its domain. For example, a federal office in the domain of energy will be evaluated in terms of its potential impact in that domain. And then, of course, we will pay attention to prior track record, and essentially if there are any references that are useful in order to contextualize why this particular request is coming to our attention. Next slide, please. Again, so the application is very similar to the pre-proposal in a project context, so maximum 3 pages based on a template. And there will be an addition where the applicants will be able to pitch their idea and their need for support. Next slide, please. I just want to provide 2 very concise examples of previous collaborations that are still ongoing and almost finished that resulted from our call for innovation projects. The first one is called Data Science at Edge Computing for Debris Flow Warning. The idea here is to use seismic sensors to detect debris flow and issue timely warnings thanks to locally deployed machine learning algorithms. So here the innovation came from the context of labs in the ETH domain, particularly ETH and WSL. And there is an intention to create a company. Actually, the company has meanwhile being incorporated since the start of the project. It's called Seismic Stream. And the idea, therefore, was conceived in a more research context, and the objective of this collaboration is to make it more and more concrete, for example, by optimizing problems related to deploying sensors locally on edge and carry out some measurements to optimize algorithms. And this is a fantastic example of bringing this innovation closer to maturity, closer to industrialization. And it was carried out by several members of different teams of the SDSC, by the way. So this is a first example. A second example that I would like to showcase is called Democratizing Neural Weather Forecasting in Switzerland. And this is a collaboration we carried out with University of Lausanne and Meteo Suisse as an organization. So very interesting partnership between a federal office and a cantonal university. And here the idea is the following. The goal is to develop an open access platform, so something that is very end-user friendly, if you like, for high-resolution neural weather forecasts on Switzerland. And these are based on a hybrid statistical and physical methods. So the research component here is to combine statistical machine learning methods with physical methods in order to carry out weather forecasting. And the objective is to make it at such fine-grained resolution that it can be exploited by local Swiss companies and organizations. And to do so, there needs to be a number of adaptations of the raw invention, if you like, a projection in a way to the scale of Switzerland and also an availability through a platform. And this is what we carried out in the context of this collaboration. Thank you very much. And handing over to Oksana.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining. Today, I'll be introducing the 2025 call for collaborative data science infrastructure projects. This call is about enabling community-driven infrastructures that go beyond isolated tools and pilots and instead become sustainable, reusable platforms that support research, public services, and innovation. Throughout this presentation, I'll explain why this call is important, what kind of support the SDSC provides, and how the project lifecycle works and how you can apply. So why this call? A dedicated call for infrastructure projects, because infrastructures are the backbone. They ensure that data tools and methods are not only created, but shared, reused, and sustained. And we are particularly interested in 3 things. Building secure and interoperable foundations, think about data access systems, APIs, metadata pipelines, the use of semantic technologies, which become particularly relevant when we work with advanced AI and agentic systems. It's also about developing trustworthy and reusable architectures. These could be federated or gated frameworks that protect sensitive assets, whatever is the nature of their sensitivity, but also foster collaboration and sharing. And creating future-ready platforms, so making sure infrastructures are scalable, sustainable, and ready for AI so they can serve communities in the long run. The next slide, please. So what do you get? If your project is selected, we provide in-kind contributions from our engineers and technology experts, typically between 0.5 and 1.5 full-time equivalents per year. We will dynamically pull in the right expertise as needed to ensure fast and smooth project advancement. And we will support two types of projects. So one will be more exploration and prototyping projects lasting 3 to 6 months. Here we will focus on rapid experimentation and de-risking. It's about testing concepts, building prototypes to clarify feasibility. And the second type is development of minimal viable products that can last up to 24 months. So these projects also include experimentation and prototyping, but go beyond it and build tested, reusable infrastructure components that are ready for adoption and scaling. So these projects are critical to make decisions about full platform investment at the end. And in this way, in these two types of projects, we want to support both early ideas and more mature initiatives and bring our expertise to these different at these different stages of maturity. Next slide, please. I'd like to show and explain you how this works in practice. We use a project lifecycle that is inspired by the design thinking double diamond model adapted for deep technology innovation. And we distinguish three phases: research on the left, where applicants are domain experts, frame the problem and articulate needs. So it's mainly you who will contribute to that part. SDSC may guide, but the stage is mostly yours. The next phase is experiment. That's where our involvement really starts. Together we iterate, we test different concepts, we build prototypes, and finally we go to the build and test phase for projects that are ready to go further. We will co-develop and deliver minimal viable products, the infrastructure components that are reusable, that are tested, and that are ready for adoption. So these life cycles helps us to stay agile, to work in iterations, and co-design solutions together with you. The next one, please. So here is the timeline for the call. So the pre-proposals are due on 27th of October, and then by December 19, we'll give decisions on short exploration projects already, and the successful MVP applicants will be invited to submit full proposals. The full proposals have the same deadline as for research call. They are due on February 27, and the decisions for longer projects will be announced on June 19. General project start will be between September and December 2026, although there is a possibility to start short explorations earlier if resources allow by mutual agreement. A key point here is that if you would apply for an exploration project, then the process will end already at a pre-proposal stage. And if you apply for an MVP, then you would aim for two-phase project. And next slide, please. How will proposals be evaluated? We use evaluation criteria similar to the research projects, and such as impact, clarity of proposal across different domains to non-experts, for example, feasibility and risks. However, in addition, for infrastructure projects, we identify several elements that are key for project success. One is commitment to iterative development. We really expect that applicants will be ready to work closely with us, with our engineers in iterative cycles. Reusability, we prioritize solutions that can be reused beyond a single project and that also build on existing infrastructures. The readiness and appropriateness for the type of support requested. So we expect that projects will be at the right stage for the type of project they apply to. And finally, for MVP projects, very important, the sustainability. We want to see credible plans of long-term maintenance and adoption. So this will ensure that together we will build successful solutions that are impactful and durable. Next one, please. So the application procedure has two phases. First phase, everyone submits a pre-proposal plus an online project stage assessment form. So this form is filled in online, but we request to also attach that form to CMT application as an extract, as a PDF, for example. And you can also add supporting materials like diagrams or architecture sketches and so on. For exploration and prototyping projects, that's it. If your pre-proposal is selected, you move directly into collaboration. And for MVP project, if you're please next slide. If your pre-proposal demonstrates sufficient readiness, then you'll be invited to phase 2 to submit a full proposal, which includes a more detailed roadmap, CVs of applicants, and letters of support, which are critical if, for example, restricted or sensitive resources are required for project execution. We also introduce an optional audition option similar to the one in end-user innovation call. It's a short pitch of 5 minutes and question and answer session. So this is really a possibility for applicants to engage directly with the evaluation panel. It happens at the first phase and it is optional. So we ask if applicants are interested in that, and then by invitation, this audition may happen and help clarify several aspects about the project. Next slide, please. I'd like now to give one example project of our current support given in the previous call for proposal. Next slide, please. I'd like to give you a concrete example, which is Imaging Plaza. And in today's AI-driven research landscape, tools and software are just as critical as data. Yet too often they remain scattered, hard to find, and difficult to reuse. Imaging Plaza addresses this by making imaging software findable, interoperable, and instantly deployable. For developers, it ensures their tools don't disappear into silos, they become structured, visible, and reusable. For researchers, it means they can discover tools by modality or analysis type and run them instantly. There are no installation hurdles. At SDSC, we contributed by designing a modular reusable architecture that we already apply in next projects by building semantic metadata services and applying latest deployment technologies that make imaging tools usable at the click of a button. And we are taking even a step further. The same components are designed to be integrated into agentic AI setups so that in the future, tools won't only be easier for humans to use, but also be directly orchestrated by AI agents. And we currently have a project that is already reusing components of this platform for that purpose. So the result is a platform which we clarify an MVP, and it has already been reused beyond its initial scope, specifically for biomedical imaging projects, for biomedical applications, and attracted additional funding from PHRT. And we also see that the other building blocks also go cross domains, go even beyond the imaging. That's a multiplier effect that reflects exactly what we aim for this call, and we hope to build together with you. To wrap up, we look forward to your proposals and to working together on innovative and reusable solutions. And please reach out in this call or by email if you have questions about this call.
Yep, hello, thanks a lot. My name is Rok Roškar. I lead the Renku team here at the SDSC. Next slide, please. We're not formally taking part in this current call for collaborations, but I still want to clarify how it will be possible to work with us in the future. And for those who don't know what we do, to quickly give you an introduction. So we build a platform that connects the ecosystem of data, code, and compute that is focused on building collaborative communities. Next slide, please. It's used already today by a number of research groups, by many instructors who want to hold courses that are easy for students to use, and by event organizers, for example, in hackathons and similar types of events where quick access to computational and data resources is important. Next slide, please. As I said, we're currently not part of this call, but we will have a collaboration opportunity in 2026. It is basically going to be focused around asking the community for functionalities and features that are missing. So if you are a Renku user, or if you look at Renku but it doesn't quite have what you need, we definitely want to hear about this, and we want to work with you to build it into the platform. Next slide, please. We will have a very different structure than what is currently for this type of call. So we envision having a rolling submission deadline where we accept proposals throughout the year, and we want to have a very rapid development timeline. So we'll have a simplified application process where proposals will basically be short feature pitches, really based on user experience and evaluated very quickly. We will be available to help scope those and design the features beforehand so that when they actually go into the build mode, they can be built very efficiently. And we aim for a very rapid turnaround time. So we want to have sort of 4 to 6 months between accepting a feature to be built and it actually hitting production. So we want things to be sort of done in a time frame that is useful for people who are proposing these features. We will probably accept between 1 and 2 concurrent applications. So we imagine anywhere between 8 and 10 features throughout the year. And the grantees will be actually involved directly in the development process. So we really hope to involve the community very deeply into this. And as I said, we will be communicating about this in 2026. And next slide, please. In this slide deck, you'll have the links here to reach out to us, subscribe to our newsletter if you wish, and you will get more information on this as we develop this mode of collaboration. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thanks to our presenters. I hope, I mean, there's a lot of information for you to digest, but I hope it's getting clearer what's on offer. It's really attractive opportunities here to collaborate. And I'll open the floor for Q&A in essence. And for that, let me just stop sharing and see what's been asked. From the team, was there anyone pressing forward with a question? There's no Q&A. But
Yes, please.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you so much. So first of all, thanks a lot for this presentation and the opportunity. I'm highly interested. So I have two little questions. The first one, is it possible to access to this material and this recording, just in case I miss some details? And I think that's important for the application.
Yes, absolutely. We'll share the recording later after the call in the coming days. So you can.
Yeah, so I joined a bit late, but perhaps, I don't know if this was mentioned before, the possibility to work from being part from an outside organization, it's still compatible with the projects, or there is a list of constraints and specific requirements in terms of compatibility?
Well, maybe I can answer this question. So to apply to our calls, there are some eligibility requirements. And so in particular, to be the main applicant, we're requiring that the main applicant is affiliated with an institution of higher education and research in Switzerland, or for a research facility of national importance, or cantonal or federal administration, or a Swiss NGO or international NGO with significant presence in Switzerland. I don't know if this answers your question.
Yeah, thank you so much. Clear.
Thanks a lot, Jessica. I see there's been a lot of questions answered in the chat. Anyone else who wants to expose their question to the team? Or maybe the team has, maybe there's some joint interest where we want to bring forward to everyone from the Q&A session.
I would perhaps like to mention one thing. So I was referring during the innovation call presentation to another option for support, namely the call for collaborative projects, specifically for Canton Vaud. So I'm going to paste in the chat a link to the dedicated page. There will be a webinar soon regarding the specific funding instrument, and the upcoming deadlines are also specified there. So if you are a company, or you know of a company, or you are a player in the public sector, specifically with interests in Canton Vaud, you are welcome to look that up as an alternative way of funding your innovation.
Brilliant. Thanks a lot, Sylvia. We have another question coming, whether a team could apply for 2 different projects and 2 different calls. Maybe Guillaume, you can answer that.
Yes, certainly. And a team can certainly apply for 2 different projects in 2 different calls, and either the 2 projects can be completely unrelated, or it is also possible to submit 2 proposals that are requesting different types of support from the SDSC. For example, it's possible to make a submission to the research call and a submission to the data infrastructure call, or a submission to the data infrastructure call and the innovation call, requesting different contribution towards a general goal, right? And then the 2 submissions are independent, but of course they can be connected.
Perfect. Thank you.
Right, Guillaume, you're alluding to the fact that actually, we have 3 submission mechanisms, so we have 3 calls, but at the end of the day, we're breaking those silos, and we actually are exposed to all the submissions across all 3 calls. They are not treated independently.
Yeah, super. Thank you very much. Petra Sieber is asking, thank you very much, if it's generally desired to include an implementation partner. I think whether it can also be without.
Yeah, so regarding the innovation call specifically, the implementation partner presence is a sign that innovation is indeed close to maturity. So it is appreciated, but it's by no means a requirement or a strong desire on our part. So if there is no implementation partner, the idea can be just as valuable and ready for us to accompany it further in maturity. Thanks.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
Maybe one comment that I can make about the questions that have been asked about intellectual property was that obviously the question of intellectual property is to be approached differently for different calls. But one point which maybe I have not emphasized at the beginning of the presentation is the fact that the SDSC is committed to support open science and open research, and that at least for projects that are submitted to the research call and for the data infrastructure call, our hope is that in a number of cases, the outcome of the project could be open, so that it will lead to production of open source code and open science results. Obviously, there are a number of settings where it is desirable to proceed differently, and for these settings, we're also happy to collaborate and to discuss questions that pertain to intellectual property. I don't know if Sylvia, there is something that you'd like to add to that.
Very well summarized, thanks. And I've also added a comment regarding the specifics of the innovation projects.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. There's a question from Daniel Bauer. Does the scope of SDSC overlap with the PASC, so PASC? I'm mostly working with synthetic physics-generated data, and I have an interest in accelerating and improving numerical solvers, for instance, pins. Does this fall within the scope of the SDSC? Who wants to take that question?
I can take it. So so we have a number of projects where we've collaborated with researchers who are generating synthetic data. In some projects, we combine synthetic data with real data, and we have carried out several projects that are using physically informed neural network and similar methodology. So definitely. So don't hesitate to reach out to us about this. I think at the end of our presentation, Uta will show email addresses where you can contact us.
Exactly. Thank you very much. So Serena Robinson is asking whether a proposal can overlap with other externally funded projects where data science, machine learning implementation is valuable, or if proposals need to be completely independent of other funded projects.
No, they don't need to be independent. We're happy to, offer, support to projects where a part of the project is funded by another source of funding. I mean, this makes sense in particular given that the SDSC cannot offer, support to fund the work that is done in your teams.
You mean cash?
Yes, exactly. We can offer support in kind.
Excellent. Thank you for your question, Cecile. Cecile Richetta asking, in case we don't receive funding from the SDSC, is it possible to then include the SDSC as a partner for other grant applications?
Yes, we're happy to join as a co-applicant or partner in grant applications. We are involved in several projects where we collaborate this way.
Perfect.
And the pre-proposal stage is a great way for us and for everyone to actually gauge the communities and understand where the needs are. So even if some pre-proposals don't make it all the way, this is a good way also for us to engage through different, sources of funding with different research labs and other stakeholders.
Perfect. Excellent. Cecile is happy.
Maybe one point that I can mention, since we've had several questions about whether the content of this presentation under the form of video will be available. So yes, and the slides will be available as well, but maybe this is also the right time to emphasize that now the call documentations are available on our website, and you will find essentially the same content as, and potentially even with more detail available for you to read as well. So if you go to our to the web page, which Uta is showing on this slide now, you will be able to reach web pages that are dedicated to each of the 3 calls. And to find the corresponding documentation, there is one document which is a general documentation with information covering all calls, and then each call has a specific second document. And we provide as well, you will find on these web pages as well, the templates to submit pre-proposals to help you prepare your submissions. And if you have specific questions, feel free to use one of the email addresses that are shown here to contact us if you're unsure of which one to use. Well, we will be happy to redirect you to the right person inside of the SDSC.
Excellent. Thank you. We still have time for questions. We're here for you. Still 22 more minutes if you want. But I realize there's been a lot of traction already in the chat.
Yes.
Yeah. Let's see. Or anything that... Yeah, go ahead.
Can you hear me? Okay,
Yes.
I hope you can hear me. I just have a question about sort of the spectrum between very much academic research projects and maybe at the other end of the spectrum where I'm coming from, which is a final year mechanical engineering project at ETH, which is much more focused on developing an applicable product. In our case, the mission is to improve blood pressure measurement. So the question I would have specifically is, since we're on this one side of the spectrum, would it make sense to apply still, since from what I've heard until now, the focus is more on rather academic research projects rather than this kind of final year engineering project?
Sylvia, do you want to take that, maybe?
Sure. To me, it makes perfect sense that you apply to the end user innovation call. So you're very, very welcome to do so. I think in your case, you have a clear idea of who's the beneficiary of your innovation, and you have carried out a considerable amount of research in that direction. And therefore, to me, the logical step would be that you try and get support in terms of our expertise to make that innovation as concrete as possible and as usable as possible.
Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Sebastian. Maybe that would be a good time to mention that across our core expertises with the speakers that you heard today, Guillaume, Sylvia, Oksana, we do also evolve into vertical or domain-specific work. We also have with us today Nora Toussaint, head of the biomedical health and biomedical vertical at SDSC and head of biomedical data science. Maybe Nora, if you just quickly want to use the opportunity to show yourself and eventually, yes, with you we impersonalized actually the evolution. So we have a dedicated head for a specific domain science connecting with AI. So in the back, probably maybe you want to share how we work throughout these calls, which are now focused on research, innovation, infrastructure, to ensure that they also serve the health and biomedical domain.
Thank you, Uta. Hello, everyone. This is a nice surprise. So the way this works, at least for the health and biomedical vertical, and I assume this will be the case for the other verticals as well, is as you see, you would submit your pre-proposals to the various calls. As Guillaume also already pointed out, right? If you don't know which call it fits to, just submit and if you're unsure, send an email and ask, and we'll help to assign you to the right call. Then for the pre-proposals, the vertical will be involved in the review of the various pre-proposals that fall into that domain. And also we have, so for the health and biomedical vertical, we have a community steering group that consists of representatives of the domain all over Switzerland. And this group will be involved in the final review of the proposals. So we will involve them in the final decisions and get their feedback as well to make sure that we indeed choose the proposals with the biggest impact. I think this covers it. Any questions?
Thanks a lot, Nora. Let's see, maybe there's somebody else who's formed the question by now. We still have 66 people in the call. We're still here for you. Just go ahead. No, not really. Everything covered? All right, let me see. No? Okay, brilliant. Then I think nobody will oppose that we give back a little bit of time. Our portals are officially open, meaning our website, our calls website, as of now, with all the necessary documentation per call. So 3 calls again. We'll work in the back to align them to the specific place they belong to. We are very pleased to see that many participants today. We'll share, of course, the recording and the slides of the session today. I will just once more show our fantastic screen with information. So you have the QR code if you want to take a quick screenshot with the mother page of our calls here, where you can find all the information. In case you have already specific questions per specific call, we have dedicated emails per call. There's a team behind answering your questions that are in mind. And with this, we officially declare the second national calls for collaborative projects of the SDSC as opened, and we wish you fun in submitting your pre-proposals. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Goodbye.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.